Hello, my name is Will McFarland and welcome to the demo of my project. To give a quick introduction, the goal of this project is to scrape over 10,000 jobs and to apply natural language processing functions to extract skill phrases from the text. We will search for two job titles and look at what the most common skills are for those jobs, as well as compare how similar or different the required skills for the different job titles are. For my project, I chose to look at software developer and manager. To me, these both seem like somewhat broad titles, and I would expect them to have a moderate overlap of skills. I chose Vancouver as my location, as this is my home city and there are no shortage of job postings for either of my chosen titles there. There are three main steps to this project. One is the scraper, which generates Indeed search URLs and scrapes job ad content. Second is the pre-processing step. This cleans up the text that we scraped and prepares it for the analysis step. Third is the natural language processing functions, which are the core of this project. We want to process our jobs and extract the skill phrases for each job ad. These steps can be further broken down in the following flowchart that shows more clearly the inputs and outputs of each step. For the purposes of this demo, I won't go into great detail, but we will take a brief look at the three main steps we highlighted already. The first part I will demo is the scraper. Before I do the demo, however, it is important to understand what the code is doing. First, the scraper must generate the search URLs we are interested in. This includes configurable parameters for the job title, location, and how many results we want to get. Indeed limits search results to 1,000. Next, we pass those URLs to the search ads script that iterates through each ad in the result page and checks if the result already exists in our data. If not, it sends the URL to the scraper to download the job ad and store it in a dictionary that is passed back up the call stack. After all results have been searched or an exception is raised, a new raw JSON file is written to the data directory. Finally, the script compiles all raw files and writes them to a single CSV file called unique ads, which will contain the URL, job title, and job description for every ad that we have scraped. Now it's time to see this step in action. Over here in my IDE, we are going to be starting with a fresh clone of my project. For this demo, we will be collecting and analyzing a small set of data to run through the whole process with. As mentioned, this is the file that generates the search URLs and extends the search ads script. Before we run the code, we can modify lines 9 and 10 to be our desired search terms. We will start with manager, and then run the program with python scrape jobs.py. The script will run until a specified number of jobs has been searched, or an exception is raised from the scraper. We have specified that it should stop at 150 jobs for the purpose of this demo. Once the script is complete, it will print out a preview of the results. The full results can be seen in the data/unique ads CSV file here. We can also see the raw results here in the JSON file. As we can see, it found 101 jobs from those 3 pages of search results. And that matches with the unique ads file. Let's run the scraper once more with a different job title to get a comparison data set. We can see that 120 new jobs were added to the unique ads CSV file. We can see those if we scroll down to the bottom of the file. There's new software developer jobs here. There's also a new file in our raw ads directory with all of our new ads here. The second step is pre-processing the job ads that we just collected. For the analysis step to work as best as it can, we want to provide simple text with no unnecessary punctuation or symbols. For more details on what exactly the pre-processing script does, you can look at the comments in the text preprocessing.py file. The scraped ad text is very raw and contains characters that we want to remove before our analysis. We can now run python text preprocessing.py to process the text. This will run our pre-processing file. One other function that the pre-processing script does is it adds a column for the job title category. Since many of the return jobs, especially software developer, don't actually contain those words in the title, we want to categorize which ones do and which category they belong to. Another approach I could have taken here would have been to label each row with the search term it came from. However, that approach would include a lot of irrelevant ads, so I decided to go with this approach to maintain consistency at the cost of excluding some data. As we can see, it has finished pre-processing our text. We can see the results in the processed ads CSV file that contains all of our cleaned data. The natural language processing functions are the core of this project. We want to process our job ads and extract skill phrases for each job ad. The primary output of this step will be a CSV file with the columns for the skill phrase, the job title, and the number of times that skill phrases appeared in job ads for each title. Before I demo the analysis functions, it is important to understand how I defined skills for this project. From the case study we looked at in class, we can use the following 3 syntactic patterns to define skills: noun phrase, verb phrase, and noun plus gerund. Again, note for more details on all of these steps, please see my report, as this demo is focusing more on the code than the theory of my project. My process is centered around the Natural Language Toolkit part of speech tagging function. We can use it to tag phrases as what part of speech they are, noun, verb, etc. From the tag text, we can extract the syntactic skill patterns to identify skills. After the text has been tagged, we use another function called chunking, which identifies our skill patterns that we defined above. After tagging and chunking, we finally pass the matching chunks to be lemmatized. This will combine many similar results that are linguistically equivalent. It's now time to run our natural language processing functions on our data. We can run the NLP skill extraction script with python analyze.py. And this will run the code on all of our ads. This will output to the skillcounts.csv file, as well as the job skills CSV file. Finally, it's time to look at the results. Skill counts shows every skill and how many times it occurred for a given job title. The analysis script also outputs a file called job skills. This shows every job ad and the skills that we found for that ad. The orange text here is the skills that we extracted from the job ads. To see some results in our sample data, I took an abstract from my report that will allow us to simply run some relevant analysis on our results. First, we can see how our pre-processing script divided our data into different job title categories based on what was actually in the title of the job description. We see that we had 118 manager ads, 34 software developer ads, 27 software developer ads that actually had software engineer in the title, and 52 that had none of the above. We exclude the bottom row. Next, we can see the actual counts of the skill phrases we identified for each job title category. For example, work is the #1 skill phrase for the manager title. Do note that there is a bug in my natural language processing function that outputs single word noun phrases twice, but it's easy to ignore that for our purposes. We can see that even in our small sample of ads, we already had over 12,000 skill phrases identified. Taking an equally sized sample from software developer and manager, we can calculate the Jacquard index, which is simply a measure of set similarity. We see that about 11% of the ads in software developer and manager had the same skill phrases. If we cut that down to just the top 100 skill phrases from each job title category, we see that the similarity actually increases up to 28%. The results for the full data, which includes much more explanation on this step, are available in the report notebook file included in my repository. I also wrote unit tests for the 3 major components of my project: the scraper, the pre-processing, and the NLP functions. These prove that the code works as expected and has consistent results. As we saw in the demo, all components of the project are functional, but testing was somewhat difficult as the validity often had to be verified manually for most steps. Thankfully, figuring out which step was at fault was easy because each component outputs to a separate file. To run the tests, we can simply run python testing.py. As we can see, all tests passed. I go into much more detail about the challenges involved in this process in the report, but otherwise that concludes the demo of my project. Thank you, I hope you enjoyed.